What's up today, guys? Today we're going to be replacing a thermostat on a small block Chevy. So the reason we're doing this, I'll start working on taking it apart, is because last time I took it out and getting rowdy with it, the old girl warmed up. It was 200 degrees before I even got to the other side of the mile, and that was not a slow mile. That was a fairly quick mile. But nonetheless, I thought, well, I put this motor in here probably close to 10 years ago now. It's a well-used motor. I got a good deal on it from a buddy doing some trading, because the 305 that my dad had rebuilt for this Nova that got me through high school and college, it dropped. It broke a rocker arm stud while I was crossing some railroad tracks. Now you may think, well, he must have been doing something crazy. That's wrong. I was probably doing 20 miles an hour, driving pretty slow in town, and it just dropped a cylinder. So I got an upgrade to a well-worn out 350, but it seems to have more power than that old 305 did. Anyways, so what we need to do this job is obviously the tools to remove stuff here. I bought a fail-safe 195, I believe it is. Yeah, it does not say, but it should be a 195, this fail-safe thermostat. So that way, if it'll lock itself open if it ever goes into that mode where it needs to. And then, of course, a gasket. Hopefully this is the right one. So this procedure will work for straight 6s, V6s, V8s, and probably big blocks. I haven't done them on V6s or V8 or big blocks, but small block Chevys are pretty used to doing everything kind of similar to how it's always done. Everything seems to be fairly similar. You'll need a little RTV, and I like to use a little grease, and you'll see why here in a bit. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the hose off. I should have probably drained it a little bit more, because this is going to make a bit of a mess. Yeah. So let's work this off here. Got a catch pan that's going to catch it. That antifreeze does not look very good. All right. It does have some gunk in it. Might need to do a flush. Maybe we're going to be doing a flush here soon. All right, now that I made a huge mess, let's go ahead and take the thermostat cover off. Should be a 9/16. I don't know why I grabbed a half. So I like to put washers on top of this, the housing on all my Chevys, just because it kind of distributes the load a little bit better. Not something that needs to be done, but it is something that I do. This is the first car I have with an aluminum intake, so it's a little bit different for me. Believe it or not, I did not run an aluminum intake on that 305. We ran a cast iron 4-barrel. Actually, it was this quadrant junk, as most people call it, but never had bad luck with quadrant jets. Either they work or they don't. Those are kind of, you can rebuild them, and I've rebuilt them. My K10 has a rebuilt one. If you haven't seen any of the videos on the K10, well, just check those out. They're pretty neat, I guess. All right, and then there we go. Just kind of got to get that bumped up. And there we are. My fear was that this would be stuck closed. Now you could check it. Most shops aren't going to check it, but we'll need to clean this off, and we'll need to clean the gasket off here. Here's your thermostat. Pretty easy to get to, 2 bolts. And hopefully my catch pan gets all this. It's a lot of water, coolant. I have a 195 in there. A lot of antifreeze. All right, take the pressure off, the cap off. All right, I'll clean this mess up and we'll be back. All right, so once you get kind of everything set up here and cleaned up, drain your antifreeze. That's first step. I thought I drained enough. I did not. You want to scrape off any old gasket material. I like these Super Scraper. A buddy of mine, an old coworker, told me about them. He does watch this video, so thank you, Jeremy. I love these. They are a bit of carbide, brazed or glued to the tip of a stick. And the easiest place to find these was a janitorial supply company. They were the cheapest, so that's the way I went. But they work good, and I'm not gonna make you guys watch me do all this, so I'm gonna stop the video here, and I will see you when we're cleaned up. Some notes on doing your scraping. You can use a razor blade. Don't use a screwdriver. You could use just a regular like paint scraper. If you got aluminum intake or thermostat cover housing, try not to gouge it. You want to be real nice, leave everything nice and flat, and kind of work your way. It'll take a little bit. Don't rush it. If you got an older intake, you're going to have pits like I have, so you're not going to be able to get everything. Whatever's in there is doing its job. Your goal is not to nick it or anything. You want a nice level surface on both mating surfaces. And then I like to go through and give it a nice brake clean bath and kind of clean everything up, then wipe it down before we start. So I'm going to do that, let it sit and dry, because you kind of want everything to be nice and dry. Some notes to add also. Sometimes the bolts go through into the water jacket and you can feel them from the other side. I know cast iron small block Chevy intakes do that. This one does not. So I kind of cleaned out the holes, that way any liquid doesn't get out onto there. I'm going to go ahead and you put the thermostat in first, and then we're going to put a nice light coat of a RTV around here. So let me do that. Put the thinnest coat I could on both housing and intake, and then I'm just going to set this down in there, kind of give it a little push. Maybe it'll stay. It's kind of warped, I think, from sitting in the car. That's not a big deal. We'll put the top on and we'll be back in business. Okay, hopefully you guys can see that okay. I'm going to put my thermostat housing back on, set it on nicely. That kind of made a mess there. Alright, make sure the bolts. This is not going as well. Sometimes they have sometimes the thermostat gasket is actually a sticky type, and you can, there we go, one bolt hole in. You can just, it'll peel off and you can paste it to the intake, which works great. To be honest, it looks amazing. But sometimes they don't, like this one. I thought Felpro did. I should say. The last one I did on my 6-cylinder, it did. It worked wonderful. So you want to get both bolts started before you actually snug stuff down, because then it's a lot harder to manipulate things. There's a torque rating for this. I don't know what it is, so I'm going to use my calibrated torque arm and say that that's good. Perfect. Now here's the trick. We're going to come back in a couple days. We're going to give this RTV 24 hours to set up. All right, next day we're going to go ahead, put a little bit of grease on here to kind of help it from seizing up on it. It works. It doesn't always work. Sometimes it'll eventually wear off if you wait, a couple of years. But it does help. Kind of like anti-seize on it. And then we're going to snug this up. Just kind of go till it's snug. Alright, now let's get some antifreeze in it. Alright, let's fire up this old car, see if we got any leaks. Nice thing about this car, it does have a really good working antifreeze reservoir. It's always worked pretty good, so I went ahead and filled that up. Doesn't look like we have any leaks. Looks like we're doing pretty good. So I'm going to let the motor warm up, charge up the battery a bit, because this doesn't get driven a whole lot. And when it does, it gets beaten on pretty hard. So we'll come back here in about 3 or 4 minutes, see how the temperature looks and make sure everything looks good. Well, I was worried about my gauge, so I gave it a little persuasion, and it looks like it's running about 195, to be honest. Gauge still works. Thermostat's opened and then closed back down to where it needs to be. We don't have any leaks. I'm gonna say that this is a win. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more.